big boys up in D.C. We talked about, the Federal Reserve, the Office of Control of Currency, FDIC. But who is looking out for us as consumers? That is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And we actually have one of their premier financial education analysts. Her name is Leslie Jones. She flew out here from DC. You see how special y'all are? We're flying people across the country for you. So without further ado, I'll give the table, the mic to Leslie Jones. Let's give her a round of applause.
Hello, thank you. I'm going to figure out where this needs to be held. I want to introduce myself. I've been with the Bureau for 7 years. I was a classroom teacher for 14 years in Ohio and in Virginia. And then I started working for the Department of Defense schools, the DOD schools and things like that overseas. But what I did was I supervised all of their business and information technology programs worldwide. And then I helped to stand up their virtual high school and helped to teach teachers how to switch from teaching in the classroom to teaching online. And I was writing some of their courses in Microsoft Office and different things like that. So that was my background. And then this job showed up and I said, and it became mine. And I have done a couple of things with it. And I'm going to show you what we've created. But what I like to do is I like to stop at this point in time and ask, who here has ever been to the CFPB website before? Okay, several of you, wonderful. All right, so I have to give this disclaimer that this was not pre-recorded for your listening enjoyment, but is being given to you live and is thus not scripted. All right, so the next question is, or should we tell you a little bit about the Bureau. We are the newest federal agency. We were created after the housing collapse in 2008, 2009, and what they did was they took several offices from a variety of federal agencies and they brought them together under one umbrella with the goal that if we're under one roof that we can work together better and we can do more for the American consumer. And our mandate is to empower consumers, to enforce rules and regulations, and to educate. So, I work in the education branch, but an example of empowerment, one of my coworkers at a meeting several years ago, she announced what she had been working on, and I went, we did that? I didn't even know. How many of you get a credit card statement electronically and it contains a link for you to check your credit score? Okay, several of you. That is a CFPB initiative. What happened was we made the observation that your credit score was being used to make a variety of decisions about your life. Can you name some of them? What are some of them? Insurance. Employment.
Lending.
Purchases, lending, okay. Personally, one of my favorites, sometimes it's romance. What happened with that is we recognize that people are making these decisions about you and you're walking into these situations without knowing your credit score. And so you're walking in not knowing what the answer is probably going to be. And it was the opposite of empowering. And so by giving you that information, we're hoping that you're walking into these situations trying to get a job. You mentioned trying to get insurance. You mentioned, we talked about the romance. Knowing what your score is, let me clarify. Knowing what the ballpark of your score is, because they're definitely not accurate completely, but certainly a better ballpark than, well, I checked it 12 months ago and it was, type of a situation. And so that was something that the Bureau did to empower people. We, of course, enforce a variety of rules and regulations and entities, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. And this education arm, I will show you what we've done. We work to produce materials for ages 3 to 103. I've brought in my focus is age 3 to like probably about 21. So that's what I brought with me, but I wanted you to recognize though that there's stuff for everybody. All right, now here's a question for you. What messages about money did you receive as a child from adults? Repeat it. What messages about money did you receive as a child from adults? Anybody?
Money doesn't
Yes.
grow on trees.
Save. What else?
Money doesn't grow on trees.
Money doesn't grow on trees.
I learned about credit scores very young.
Very good.
It was pay your bills on time.
My parents definitely didn't teach me about that because credit scores didn't exist when I was a child. Okay. What about anybody else?
If you owe someone, pay them.
Owe someone, pay them?
Do you want to have money or do you want to spend money?
Do you want to have money or do you want to spend money?
Work hard and save for a rainy day.
Work hard and save for a rainy day. Okay, so two of my most notable, one is the person who told me, my parent taught me that as long as you have checks in the checkbook, you can write checks. Another person said, I learned not to answer the phone because my dad's business went underwater and we had debt collectors calling so much that they were like, don't answer the phone. And I was like, oh, that was interesting. And then of course for me, we don't talk to children about money.
Exactly. That was
So, I asked you this because I wanted to have an idea about, I want to make the point that there are positive and not so positive messages about money that children are receiving. And what happened was the Bureau decided when it was stood up and it was looking at educating consumers, one of the first things they needed to do was figure out what is financial well-being. Because that seemed to be really important and the key of what was going on. And this is the definition that the Bureau identified. I'm not going to read it to you, but I'm going to interpret it. It's how you feel about your money. It's how you feel about your money. Has anybody here ever heard of a person who is making millions of dollars a year and is broke?
Yes.
Or in debt?
Yeah.
Has anybody heard of a person who doesn't seem like they have much, but they do?
Yes.
I call that person that millionaire next door, that person who, has what we would consider to be a low-paying job, but has so much money saved up that you're amazed, but it's because they've taken care of it so well. And it's how they feel about their money. It's not about how much you make. It's about what you feel about it. What are your priorities? What's important to you? Maybe what's important to you is leaving a legacy. Maybe what's important to you is putting your kids through college debt-free. Maybe it's having that mortgage paid off. I don't know what your idea of financial well-being is. I don't know what's important to you. However, you do. And if you don't, you're going to get there. You're going to figure it out. But we just like to make the point that it's not, you can't sit there and go, oh, they make lots of money. Well, fine. And she doesn't make that much and she needs help. That's not necessarily the case. All right, these are the 4 elements of financial well-being, and I'm just going to skip over them right now and I will go back for a moment and just say this. So after we identified what adult financial well-being looked like, the Bureau asked themselves the question, well, what do kids need in order to be adults with adult financial well-being? And as that research was being done and that information was being calculated, they brought me on board. And I got a chance to see this 3 building blocks of youth financial capability before they were published. And I said, this is upon which we will stand. And so I'd like to introduce them to you. These three building blocks of youth financial capability are that children need executive functioning skills, they need financial habits and norms, and they need financial knowledge and decision-making skills. They will be building these skills during early childhood, middle childhood, and adolescence. So let me talk about them a little bit more. Executive functioning skills are self-control, planning, problem-solving skills that you need to navigate life. And now before I give you any more details, I'm going to ask, why do you need executive functioning skills to get you to your big goals?
Things come up unexpectedly.
To know how to
You
manage
have
it.
to plan. To spend money.
Yeah.
And to spend money and to
And to
save money. Right. My husband just retired. He wanted to retire a year ago. He's a teacher, and he wanted to retire a year ago, and I looked at him and said, no. He said, but I had 30 years. I said, I don't care. I can't do this right now. We have not been talking about this. You cannot spring this on me. I need a year. I need time to research and plan and make sure that our finances are where they need to be in order for you to do this. We need to have somebody reviewing our stuff and giving us advice. You just cannot. And he was like, and he went back and he did that extra school year, and he was able to retire in June, and I was fine with it because he had given me that year to work through it and get there. But I was like, the pandemic just ended. I cannot do this with you. I was just, no. And so we got to retirement because of our ability to tell ourselves, no, we spent a year going, well, maybe we can't go on vacation. Maybe we can't buy this. Maybe we can't, making those mental transition to the limited income that we now have. There's no more pay raises. And things like that, at least on his side. And so that executive functioning skill is what's going to get you to things like retirement. It's going to get you that down payment for a home. It's what's going to get you the down payment for a car. It's what's going to get you to pay off the student loan. You need to have executive functioning skills, and we can start teaching it when they're 3. Kids can start learning to tell themselves no at the age of 3. They can start to plan and process and think about things at 3. And that's what a lot of the materials I brought with me are for. The next thing, financial habits and norms. Those are the rules of thumb by which you navigate the world. Let me ask you a question. How many of you manage money the exact same way as your parents and or your siblings? Who does? Okay, that is the usual response I get. Okay, so we just did an informal survey. We know that children first start learning about how to manage money from their families, right? But in our informal survey, y'all just told me that you don't manage money like how you saw when you were a child. So, I challenge you as educators to show kids financial habits and norms that they haven't seen. So they know and can find things that feel good to them, that will work for them, that can get them to where they need. I didn't see my good financial habits and norms, the ones that I had, until I was probably a junior and senior in college. Those are the ones that I've adopted. And for my retirement financial habit and norm, I didn't get that until I was in my 30s. You have to, not have to, but as educators, we have the ability to have kids learn what works for them and learn it early enough that they can really make it part of their lives. The frustration of living in a household that is working the opposite of you, that's flowing downhill and you're working uphill, or vice versa, is frustrating, exhausting, and tiring. But if you know that there's another option out there, it can help you feel good about yourself and what's going on. A great time to start teaching this is middle childhood. Number 3, financial knowledge and decision-making skills. That's what we do it well. The Bureau just says, and please emphasize comparison shopping skills, and please emphasize finding trusted resources of information. There's the two caveats, but otherwise, this is the one that we do, and a great time to start that is in adolescence and young adulthood. As for all of these building blocks, however, even though we give these sweet times to start teaching them, they're lifetime skills. It's like I said about retirement. Yeah, I had some ideas about what retirement income and things like that looked like, but now that we're actually in it, that's when I'm really diving in and learning more. And so you're just going to, you'll learn for your lifetime. Medicare is a nightmare. I just don't even. All right, so what happened was I was going around the country telling people about these resources and and how they can find them in our financial education portal. And by the way, for those of you that are interested in ordering those free materials, if you come to our website, which is consumerfinance.gov/youth-financial-education, at the bottom of the page, in this corner, is where you click to access free printed copies of materials. So if you want to order our stuff, this is where you go. Show you that quick, fast shortcut. Yeah, please go.
Is it possible we can get the lights turned off?
That is for them.
Well, I'm sorry, this facility had a serious issue last week. Both power boxes blew out. They just finished installing, well, they're not finished installing lights. We tried to dim it, and obviously it's not working yet. We apologize.
Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and, so I was going around the country telling people about the building blocks, and they said, that's nice, but I'm busy. You gotta help me. I'd like to do that, but how? And so I said, I accept your challenge, and we started building these youth financial education activities. This is a search engine that allows you to go and filter and/or search for financial literacy activities. As of yesterday, all of the activities were updated this year. Every one of the 270 that were there, and there's 5 new ones this year, so we got 275 activities. They've all been updated to the new national standards. They've all been clean, scrubbed, and are pretty and cute and wonderful. Okay, they're not cute, but whatever. And you can go through and you can, we've got 5 different categories: earn, save, protect, spend, and borrow. And you just go sorting through to find what you might want to teach. These are one-day activities. They're supplemental, it's not a curriculum. So the goal is to extend the learning if the kids are enjoying a topic. The goal is to reteach something if they're not getting it. Some of the other things you can do, activity type. I think I told somebody about this. Activity type, if you choose story time, you can see all the lesson plans we have for our storybooks. We also, you can select by student characteristics: ELL students, special education students, low income students, rural students, urban students. By urban, it's just we do things like the scenarios focus in on an urban environment. So a person would take a public bus, or they're going to have to park and pay for parking in a parking garage or parking deck, unlike a person in a rural area that's less likely to plan to walk to work, or is going to say, I'm getting a car and I'm getting it soon because I need to get someplace, and that's the only way I'm going to do it. I know we brought up our boys. Nobody biked anywhere, nobody walked anywhere. We had to get in our car and go, and so getting our kids cars was not an option, it was a requirement. Don't get me wrong, they didn't get expensive cars, but at least it moved. So you can go in and sort by a variety of things in order to find an activity that you might like. And when you click on you have the little cards that give you a synopsis of the activity. When you select it, you get this overview that gives you the big ideas, into questions, the objectives, what the students will do, and down below on the page you can download the actual teacher guide. Our teacher guides are usually 4 to 6 pages in length. If they're longer, it's probably because they contain student materials, but I think the longest is still only 12 pages, and again, it's because it's got a game deck in there that you need. Let's try an activity. All right, this one is true and false. It's just a 15-minute activity that you can do with your students. I think a great time to use it is when you're teaching identity theft or fraud, when you're teaching taxes, something like that. Let me ask you some of these questions. Social Security numbers aren't important. Social Security numbers aren't important. True or false? False. False. Sometimes it's okay to share my Social Security number. True or false?
False. Well,
True.
true. Sometimes, yeah. Depends
I
on
love
who-
that question because I always get a mux of answers.
It depends on who you're sharing it with.
Oh my gosh! Okay, so here is what my legal department says is the rationale. Sometimes it's true, and sometimes you'll have to share your number. For example, when you get a job, rent an apartment, open a bank account, or apply for a credit card, you may need to share your Social Security number. Always ask why someone needs your number, how it will be used, and what will happen if you refuse. All right, so one of the nice things is that we're not just giving you a true-false on these, we're also giving you the information that you can give to students. And the last one, if someone uses my Social Security number, I'll find out right away. True or false? That is false. You may not find out until you're checking your credit score, your credit report. All right, let's try another one. This one is exploring government agencies. And that last one, that was supporting financial habits and norms to some degree, but it was definitely financial knowledge and decision-making skills. This one, exploring government agencies. This one is, this one has the questions up there, but statements. It's supposed to be a matching, so you've got the 7 agencies, and then you just do a crisscross. Our goal was just that students know what agencies are out there providing some sort of consumer protection tools and things like that for them. All right, so here are 3 of the 7. Our home was terribly damaged in a hurricane. My family needs immediate help with a place to stay and needs help figuring out how to save our house. Which government agency should we contact? FEMA, correct. My cousin needs help figuring out how to get an auto loan. Which agency has tools to help him?
FTC.
Okay, so this is, when I say this is a trick, when you're doing matching, it's easy because you eliminate other options, but the actual correct answer is the CFPB. We supervise the auto loan industry. All right, and then my grandmother is about to retire. Which government agency will help her with her retirement benefits? Social Security Administration. We also have some tools, but Social Security is where you need to go. All right, so another tool that we created was the Your Financial Path to Graduation tool. This tool helps high school seniors and older young people read their, interpret their financial aid offer letter so that they're able to figure out how much they're going to be able to afford, how much they'll have to be able to pay off eventually, that kind of stuff. So it just gives them a lot of information they need to interpret that financial aid offer letter. Because you get that letter and there's a lot of information in there and it's not stuff that you're necessarily comfortable with or understand, like an EFC. What the heck is that? That kind of stuff. And so this tool can help you figure that out. And when the students team presented it to us and said, look at what we've created, I said, guess what? So I'm a senior in high school and I get this and I'm supposed to know how to use this tool? And they said, sure. And I was like, no, I'm going to help you out. And I created an activity called Planning Your Financial Path to Graduation. And it's got 3 scenarios. Well, the scenario has 3 different financial aid offer letters in it. And so you could use this when the students are in freshman, sophomore, and junior, or sophomore, junior, senior years, in order to get familiar with the tool, not putting in their personal data, and knowing how this tool works so that when they finally do get their financial aid offer letter, now they understand how the tool works because you've been giving it to them, giving these samples with them, talking it through, that sort of thing. All right, another tool that I would really like to mention that's another federal agency is this one, Career One Stop. How many of you have used Career One Stop before? Okay, so the one thing I like to really point out is the scholarship finder tool. There are a lot of companies out there that are offering a place to go and search for scholarships, but a lot of them are just trying to get our data mining. You know, they're just seeking to get the data because we've got you on our list and we can market to you. This does not, okay, because it's through a federal agency, it does not do that. So here's a scholarship finder that we recommend remember I told you about finding trusted resources of information? This is one that I want to share with you.
Can students access that as well?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this is freely public on the
Okay.
accessible at careeronestop.org. All right, the other thing that we've done is we've curated, so all of the tools that we use in our activities, we put on this one single page called our activity resource list, and it allows you to be able to go in and find at least tools that we have used in our activities. And so it can just be a nice place, like, you know, you want to teach something about investment. What are some sites that you can send your students to for investing, and you can come here to get more information about that. Now let's do another activity. And this one's really fun. You have a ball, and you toss it around the room, and it's just great. But I haven't been bringing the ball with me because, well, we're still enough close to the post-COVID that I'm like, I don't want to throw a ball around the room and then clean it off and have to store it and stuff like that and take it around the country. So I'm really sharing this. Oh no, I'm not doing this. So we're going to do this with an adaptation, and that is that I'm just going to ask somebody if they would volunteer to be a student, and I will read a question to them that needs to be answered. The topic of this is your saving and spending habits. And it's supposed to be another 15-minute activity that you would do in your classroom. Can anybody volunteer to be the first the first volunteer? Nobody? Really?
Okay, I'll go.
These are questions for high school students, people.
I'll go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excuse me, I'm trying to find the website for the Career One Stop, and it's showing me that there's an error. Is it careeronestop.org?
careeronestop.org? Yeah, that didn't come up.
I'm trying.
Put www in front of it.
It says it's an error.
I will check it out after this and see if I can find it again. And thank you for letting me know. If you get money, Miss, do you usually spend it or save it?
There are both options.
If that is the correct answer, then yes.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, anybody else volunteer? I just need to pick, thank you. All right, when you go on vacation, why might it be helpful to track your spending?
Because I do not want to be stuck wherever I run out of money.
Thank you. Anybody else? Thank you. What strategies do you use for saving or budgeting your money?
I have an automatic setup in savings, like taking money drafted.
Very good, thank you. Anybody else? Okay.
One question, are you asking as a high school student or as an adult?
You can answer as an adult, but I might. Give an example of a big expense you had to save money for.
Vacation.
Okay. One more. Okay. If you get or earn money, do you usually spend it or save it? Okay, thank you. All right. What happens is there's only 10 questions, and I think for the most part we have more than 10 students, right?
Yeah.
You play it and you're getting the same question over and over again sometimes. Why? To help build financial habits and norms. Because in this case, we happen to hear the same answer for this. So it helps to reinforce for each of them that, oh, they're thinking alike. And for the student that says, oh, you don't just spend your money, then they're hearing, oh, people save and spend. You can do both. So it gives a chance to share some financial habits and norms and have people realize that there are other people that think like them, and also here's some things that maybe they haven't been exposed to before. So that's just a quick way to check in on financial habits and norms in a relatively simple way. And you can do that. That is our, and just so you know, that is our most popular activity. This has been out for 4 years now, and it is the king. Month after month, year after year, it is the most popular activity that we have. So just so you know. All right, here's another activity, and it's comparing higher education choices. How many of you have been to the Department of Education's college scorecard? Ooh, this tool. This is a great, great tool. And this is the activity, but the actual tool, collegescorecard.ed.gov or something like that. And it is fabulous. What you do is you put in and you can compare schools side by side. But the information you're getting are things like average annual cost, the graduation rate, what % of students actually graduate. You're getting salary after attending. Now this is for the entire school, it's not for, even though you're putting in your major, it's not actually the salary for the major, it's the salary for the actual average salary after you graduate. But what is great is one student was sure she was doing Ivy League, sure she was doing Ivy League. And so we picked up one Ivy League school, but for the heck of it, I also included one of these other schools. And something local, and said, let's just do this one just to check. We looked at it and she went, oh my gosh, the average annual cost is so much higher in that Ivy League school, but the salary after attending is almost the same. We're like, yeah, that's because employer is probably the same. And she's like, maybe I need to rethink this. And I was like, yes, because that gave her a chance to see that the Ivy League might not be worth it. That if she's not going to be making a whole lot more because she went to the Ivy League, it might not be her best choice. So in this case, this is just a great little tool to use with the students to help them see things like that. And also, what kind of support they're going to get on campus. An 84% graduation rate versus a 34% graduation rate is substantial. And so that's the other thing, what kind of support? If you're a first-gen student going to school, you probably want a school with a higher graduation rate because there's probably more supports there to help you get through if you're struggling than a school but you've got a student that's highly motivated and take a problem solver. Maybe they can be at a school that has a lower graduation rate and it's fine because they don't need those kind of supports. We also have an activity on learning how FAFSA works, and with this one, the reason I like to point this one out is we have scenarios. Because how many of you have used the Federal Student Aid Estimator before? Okay, this one is great, but having students put their personal information into public computers in your school building is not necessarily the best idea. So having these scenarios, they're able to put in fake information, get a feel for how the tool works, and then turn around and go home and then do it with their personal information. So I just want to encourage you to do a scenario. Yes?
Are these resources we can share with parents when they're incoming, like when they're juniors or seniors, or like we send them links that we're doing it online?
We are working on a project right now that I'm calling the Family Engagement Research, because this is my goal. We have a whole program called Money As You Grow, and the Money As You Grow program is helping parents and caregivers have money conversations with their kids. And what we have done is we have things like, I showed somebody else, we took a classroom activity called buying a cell phone, and we turned it into buying a cell phone plan for the family. And so then the parents sit down with the kids and they decide together what all of their, what they need as a plan, what are their priorities, and then they do comparison shopping and they pick a plan. So yes, we convert a variety of these activities into specific conversation starters for families. you're more than welcome to do it yourself, but I would definitely check Money as You Grow and see if it's there. And my goal for we started that project this year, and we're planning to do more of it next year, is to keep making that homeschool connection to build families' financial literacy skills. So yes, thank you. That is that is my next passion. All right, so these are an example of some of our another activity we have, spending snapshots, and this one is also very popular. And most of our stuff are supposed to be conversation starters for you. It's not about kids sitting there doing math. It's more of the social emotional connection to your money. In this one, Felicia wants to buy her first car, so she saves most of her money each month. Her friends spend most of their money going out and having fun. Felicia misses going out with her friends and wonders, is it okay to spend a little money on that? Based on your spending experience and your personal knowledge, what would you recommend to Felicia?
I recommend spend a little and save a little. Enjoy some of what you work.
So you recommend that she do a little bit of both? Yes.
I recommend that she keeps her goal in focus, because at the end, she'll have what she wants, because she does have a goal for that money.
Thank you. Anybody else? One time I had somebody say, you know what, when she has that car, she'll have lots of time with her friends because they'll be on her like crazy. I was like, that's a good point. So it's just nice as a way to think. And again, this helps build financial habits and norms because you start to hear how other people think about things. Let's look at one other. And this is Jamal. He has brought dozens of video games over the past few months, and his mom thinks he should stop spending so much money on games. He thinks the games are worth it because he and his friends have lots of fun playing them. But he's starting to wonder if his mom is right. Based on your spending experience and personal knowledge, what would you recommend to Jamal?
Stop by.
Yeah, Mom.
Go spend some of limit where you're
Trade with other people, limit how much.
Like instead of dozens over a few months, maybe one a month or something.
If he's doing this with friends, maybe that one person buys and shares with other people.
I've had the same problem with my sons, and they decide now, they got smarter, they decided to subscribe to the network, and so they can play the game.
Exactly. Somebody else had something over here?
Anybody use ones?
Buy users, wait until they're a little older and then buy them. Great, wonderful ideas. And you can see how this can be useful in the classroom. Get some good shares going on. And it's something that's helpful. You got an extra 10 minutes left in class, do some spending scenarios, okay? All right, we also have a tool called Map Your Money Journey. And this tool is a student self-assessment. The students tell us what they really like about it is that it doesn't have them do math. So it's, again, how you feel about your money and things like that. For high school students, it's a 30 question, and for middle school and elementary, it is 20 questions. And you send them to the right URL, and then they click the Let's Do It button. We take no personal data at all. And after they've answered all of the questions, they get to this results page. And the results page shows them where they are on the road to achieving their financial habits and norms. Their money management skills. And they can be starting out, they can be on the road, or they can be well on their way. And we break it down into 3 categories: planning and self-control, money habits and values, and money knowledge and choices, which I hope sound a little familiar to you, but made a little more kid-friendly. And we then have some next steps at the bottom where the students complete a worksheet. That can be what you easily can grade from this. And then they're supposed to talk with you, and they can also talk with a parent or trusted adult. And we give 2 or 3 conversation starters. One is, who shapes my money choices? Another is, where can I store savings? And another is, what is debt? In this age group, each age group is slightly different. And so this is something they can do to just have them check in, and we have a lesson plan that we use to teach to it. Now, let's look at this other middle school activity. This one is one where the students are supposed to stand or sit, but since you are not middle school students and don't necessarily need the standing and sitting, It's snap twice if it's a short-term goal, clap twice if it's a long-term goal. And again, this is just a little 15-20 minute. So if I ask you, buying a car, is it short-term or long-term goal? Buying a car. That is correct. Buying a new video game or accessory. Short-term. Buying a new phone. I know, it depends on the phone. Paying for college. Very good. Last one, buying a bike. Very good. And so you can see that this is just a quick way to check in with them, get them moving and grooving a little bit, and just helps to review what saving is and long-term, short-term, and we've got a definition for that. And then this one is bouncing ball money choices. Bouncing ball money choices is a coworker of mine developed a toolkit she called the Money Circle Toolkit. And when she described it to me, I'm like, I need this for my kiddos, so I'm doing this. And what happens is your money circle are the people around you who influence your decisions about money. So your family, your friends, or your other people. So let me ask you, who influences your decisions about money more? Is it family? What about friends? And what about others? Okay, all right. And so we get the kids to start looking at who's influencing them. Like I had a coworker for about 3 years, and she was so frugal. We would come back on Mondays and talk about what we did all the weekend, and she had canned this and had made this dress, shirt, blouse, and all of these other things. And I was like, wow, I saved more money working with her because she kept giving me these messages of how I could save and how I could manage my money better, that it was a great 3 years. And then I get with my mother, my mother never didn't have a car payment. She liked having a car payment because she felt like the car was under warranty and she had a payment. And I'm like, did you actually check the warranty schedule? Because a lot of times they're only good for a couple years, but you had that loan for 4. But she would actually go into the car dealer and tell them, well, I can afford a payment of $450. And I said, got it! And then they made it happen.
Oh, yeah.
And they tell her, we got this to $430 for you. But it made it sound like they got it down to $430, not up to $430 anyway. So anyway, for me, my money circle are other people, because my family does not manage money in a way that is good for me. But they are useful this way. Hey, I've got this question about something, and can you tell me what you would do in this situation? And I give them the situation, and then they tell me what their response is, and I say, thank you. And I go do the exact opposite of whatever they told me to do, what they told me that they would do, because that just helped confirm my thought and my choice. It was just, anyway. So yeah, my son was gifted my 13-year-old car, and because I don't like car payments. So he was gifted my 13-year-old car. He drove it for another 4 years, and then finally he got upgraded to his father's used car. So, because it was only 8 years old when he got it. So, big deal. But this is how I'm different, and that financial habits and norms are different than your family's. I need to introduce my newest child. And this newest activity was published last week, and it's called Understanding Redlining. And I just felt like it was such an important topic to teach. It's got so much to it. How do we boil it down to its basic core? And we're the CFPB, and if we're not teaching this, who is going to be? So I'm very proud of this because we really distilled it down into some really basic information, and yet giving some nice core stuff to it. I'm hoping that I can build on it in the future, but if it's a topic that you're interested in teaching in your classrooms, know that we have this out there, okay? And it is brand spanking new. So the students review a handout, they answer some questions about it, and then they do some reflection on how they think it's impacting their community or their neighborhood, things like that. All right, I just wanted to go over some general CFPB resources for you. First of all, we have submit a complaint. This complaint system, we have handled more than 3 million complaints in our 11 years, and you can either submit a complaint in writing or you can call in a complaint. If you call in a complaint, know that we answer or take complaints in 180 different languages. Wow. Mortgages, student loans, bank accounts, credit union accounts, anything that you're having a problem with that way. I'll give you an example. Lady went on maternity leave and her husband said, look, I'll help you out. I'll take care of your banking stuff while you're on leave and you don't have to worry about that. And after a little bit he came to her and said, listen, I'm very confused. There's some stuff that can I contact them and work this out? And she said, yeah, whatever. And he couldn't get things to happen the way he wanted, so he finally reached out to us and submitted a complaint. She received a check for over $8,000 from her financial institution. That's how much they had taken from her in fees and things like that. Wow. So that's just an example of some of the stuff that we do or we've done. Our website is in 8 different languages, Spanish just being one of them. And we have a variety of information for a variety of multilingual communities. You can see Spanish, Tagalog, I think we have Haitian Creole as one of the lessons, or one of the languages we translated our publications into. And we also have glossaries that have commonly used financial terms that people can use. And speaking of a glossary, we have a glossary of our terms that are on our website for the K-12 stuff, and it is our most visited page. So I'm assuming that the glossary is useful for people, so just to let you know that that's out there too. We've translated 12 of our activities into Spanish for all grade levels, and so if you're interested in having Spanish handouts and worksheets, those are available. We also have a tool called Ask CFPB, and it has over 1,000 answers to commonly asked questions about different topics for credit cards, credit scores, bank accounts, auto loans, different things like that. If you're looking for answers, you can come here and find a quick, fast answer. And just wanted to mention the debt cancellation system, if it ever kicks back into place. We have some information on how it's supposed to work. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because it's on pause right now, but if it does kick back in, hopefully it will look something like this, and meanwhile it'll be in the presentation when you receive it. And again, ordering our publications. Have you ever been to a warehouse store? You know, like a Costco or something like that. Okay, you go to a warehouse store and you get the cart and you're going in for 1 or 2 items, and by the time you get to the register, your cart is full and you can't figure out how your cart got full? Yeah. Well, in this case, you get to the order desk, you get to the register, and they say, we need your name and address, so you do have to put that in, but then they tell you everything is in your cart is at no cost to you. And by the way, you'll receive it at your front door in 3 weeks or so. Sound good?
Yes.
That's what this is like. Because you're going to come and you're going to find our story booklets, our bookmarks, our posters. But you also, if you look over on the side, you've got a bunch of different categories of other things that you can order, including like managing someone else's money, other things like that. So there's just a variety of things that you can order for free, both for your personal life, maybe it's for a community organization that you work with, or things that you might want for your classroom. So please come look through this and order, because that stuff is available at no cost to you. All right, and I think that that's probably it. Oh, the other thing is, we have a link at the bottom of the slide. It's for our K-12 email list. We send 1 email a month. Generally speaking, if I send another one, it's because there's a topic that I think might be interesting to you, but I definitely don't let them bombard you with emails, and it's usually highlighting a topic that I think would be interesting, or an activity that would be interesting, something like that. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
The worksheets you were describing, are they, if we use them, can you use them on in an online platform?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. My husband used them for some lesson plans. So he would upload them into Canvas and the students would download them. They're all fillable PDFs, so they would complete them there and then just re-upload them and he would just grade them there in Canvas. Okay? Yes.
Put back to the slide before, I would write it down.
The URL, yeah. Yes.
I have a quick question. And this question I get from my students all the time. And are there any accounts, savings accounts, that they can utilize that their parents cannot access? Because I teach high school, and the number of kids that come to school that are saving, but their money is being stolen from them because they're packing a lot of money with them, but they're afraid to leave it at home. They don't want to put it in the bank, and then they're using Cash App to do things, but not realizing that Cash App is charging. So the question they always ask is there somewhere that they could put their money to save for long-term goals without having to have a parent access?
Yes, they can get a non-custodial account. Financial institutions absolutely offer those. Some financial institutions will push back a little bit. They're uncomfortable with it, but they absolutely can do it.
Okay.
But so if you're getting pushback, find one that does. The FDIC has a lot of information on youth banking rules, regulations, and procedures. So I would definitely check there to get more detailed information. That's something that, again, that's on my 2023 work plan, is to provide more clear information about this, because I'm hearing from people that it's a problem and the kiddos need to know what they can do to keep their money safe. Exactly. And set up an account even if the parent doesn't want to, or the parent doesn't feel like they can because they're maybe undocumented or something like that, and they don't want to give their information to a financial institution, but the child is a citizen of the United States and would like to.
Okay.
Yep. Yes.
Basically, if they're 16 years old, we'll let them set up an account.
Exactly.